Greetings, hunters! Every update brings us one step closer to being unstoppable. With title update force changes and new skills, we can reach more than 300 element attack depending on our weapon. Stick around and see how we do that with the new builds. Let's talk about the patch update for TU4. First, we can now augment new B skills in our armor sets such as Strife, Mail of Hellfire, Furious, and Dragonheart. At this point in the game, many of our armor pieces are more of a canvas now, where we add skills depending on our needs. But don't worry, while augmenting is more relevant, the game also provides us with more materials for it. Second, we gain additional buffs for augmenting weapons such as sharpness modifiers, additional attack, and element attack depending on the weapon. This in turn changes one of the dual blades, which I will go through shortly. We also get new decorations such as Dragonheart Jewel, Element Exploit and Chain Jewel Plus, and Intrepid Jewel. These give us higher damage potential and flexibility, and providing a bit of protection. Going back to the weapon, because of the additional buffs on the weapon from unlocking augment slots, and because of the progressive increase of element boost augments, Gilarowaga from the Alokans tree is replacing the Valstrax tree weapon because of its higher dragon element potential, and the ability to get purple sharpness. For our augments, our double discharge will be augmented with element boost 5 and rampage slot upgrade 1, while the rest will be augmented with element boost 7 and attack boost 1. As I mentioned earlier, our armor pieces are more of a canvas now that we add new skills to. So for our first build, we will be using Chaotic Grudge Mark II, same armor pieces as last update, but with more augments. For this build, you will need the Chaotic Helm and Greaves, Sinister Grudge Garb, Gauntlets, and Tassets. For this build, I'll be using my Critical Eye 3, Wide Range 2 with 2-1 slots. Any 2-2 talisman should work for a budget version, or using a Weakness Exploit 2 talisman could be a good substitute for Critical Eye. For the augments, slots aren't required, but it's better to get as many level 1 slots or slot upgrades you can get. The build requires you to get 2 strifes for your augments. I highly recommend adding them on your Chaotic Helm and Greaves, since we can also use those 2 later. You may still augment out Berserk, but I recommend keeping it because it really helps having unlimited stamina with Strife 3. You will need these decorations: 1 Hard Element, 1 Element, 1 Mighty Plus, 1 Mighty, 1 Critical Element Plus, 1 Critical Element, 1 Chain Plus, 1 Chain, and 1 Element Exploit Jewel. For the flexible jewels, you will need 2 Flame Scale or Iron Shell depending on the element you are using, 1 to 3 Critical, and 1 Bloodening Jewel. The skills you should get are Strife 3, Mail of Hellfire 3, Bloodlust 1, Berserk 1, Element Attack 5, Critical Element 3, Burst 3, Teostra or Kushala Blessing 2, Max Might 3, Coalescence 2, Element Exploit 1, Critical Boost 1, and Critical Eye 5. This is just a perfected version of Chaotic Grudge, since you now can get level 3 Strife with level 3 Mail of Hellfire. This is the cheapest way to get this set, but you can mix and match a set by swapping out the Sinister Grudge Gauntlets for Chaotic Vambraces for the second level of Berserk for a bit more comfort while still managing to get the 3 levels of Strife and Mail of Hellfire. We also adjusted our affinity boosting skills from Weakness Exploit to Max Might, since Strife 3 gives us unlimited stamina when our red HP is above 60%. If you want a little bit more power, you can also invest a little bit more and make this chaotic FrostFire build. It's practically like the Chaotic Grudge, but you get the additional Frostcraft. Just a quick recap, we get a 30% attack increase at Frostcraft level 3 once the gauge is full. It goes down as you attack monsters and can be recharged by not attacking or by sheathing your weapon. It's quite a big boost, but I don't think it's a must-have skill. If you can afford it, it's better to have a bit more damage. For this build, you will need the Chaotic Helm and Greaves, Rime Guard Mail, Gloves, and Coil. For this build, I'll be using the same talisman from my previous build. For the augments, more level 1 slots help, and having an upgraded level 4 slot can fit more skills. If you augmented Strife on the Chaotic Helm and Greaves, as I mentioned earlier, augmenting Mail of Hellfire on the 3 Rime Guard pieces are the only ones you will need. You will use the same set of jewels as the previous build. I'll leave it on the screen for a few seconds. For the overall skills, you practically get the same relevant skills from Chaotic Grudge, but you also get the Frostcraft. To make things clear, this build doesn't require you to actually use Frostcraft by sheeting often. It's there because there are times when you have to use flash bombs, traps, or healing items, and you get rewarded with buffs for it. Dereliction seems to be Monster Hunter's favorite skill, because they keep on giving it something to work with. With the new Valstrax Epoch set, we have new ways to boost our element attack by boosting our defense skills and our resistance skills with Dragon Conversion. To recap on it, Blade Masters get 25% of the positive element resistance converted into element attack. With that in mind, you should pair it with Furious, which raises all resistances by 20, and for Dragon, you will use Dragonheart, which turns all your resistances to 50. For this build, you will need Valstrax Helm, Mail and Coil Epoch, and Archfiend as Spine and Seros. We are using my Critical Eye 3 and Weakness Exploit 2 Talisman with no slots, but any 2/2 Talisman could work for a budget, less affinity version. For the augments, get as many level 1 slots as possible, and you will need additional level 4 slots depending on your talisman and other augmented skills. There are 2 versions of this build, one for Dragon and one for non-Dragon. For Dragon, you want to get 3 Dragon Hearts to lighten the load of the build. And for non-Dragon, you need 3 Furious on your armor pieces. If you can, getting Strife 2 will maximize your overall element attack. And though I didn't add it on the list, if you want, you can take out 1 Strife for Bloodlust if you aren't comfortable with the HP drain. You will need these decorations: 1 Hard Element Plus, 1 Element, 1 Critical Element Plus, 1 Critical Element, 1 Chain Plus, 1 Chain, and 1 Element Exploit Jewel Plus. For the flexible jewels, you need 1 to 3 Tenderizer, 1 to 3 Critical, 1 to 3 Hard Element Resistances, 1 to 5 Dragon Spirit, and 1 Bloodening Jewel. If you opted for having Bloodlust, I highly recommend having 1 Phoenix Jewel. The target skills for the builds are Dragon Conversion 3, Strife 2, Dereliction 3, Element Attack 5, Critical Element 3, Burst 3, Element Exploit 1, Critical Boost 3, Attack Boost 2, Stamina Surge 3, Weakness Exploit 3, Furious 3 for non-Dragon, Dragonheart 5 for Dragon, Teostra or Kushala Blessing depending on your element, and Element Resistance 3. This set is the best way to reach the max damage for dragon weapons. It's a decent and slightly more comfortable way to use other elements as well. This also has the advantage of having a bit more defense if you are also raising Element Resistances 3, which can be any since they more or less set it to 0. If you can fit in more resistances, you gain 10 defense from it, while also raising your element attack. Raising defense boost also raises your resistances at a higher level, so it is also a viable option. If you made it this far in the video, thank you! I'll be sharing my demo video soon, so make sure to spiral/slash that like, share, and subscribe button to stay updated with my channel. If you want to also support me in other ways, you can be a patron by clicking the Patreon link at the description. Until my next video, catch you all next time.